How your day was today?
It's been good. What's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. We are here for another episode of the Author Showcase, brought to you by the National Black Unity News newspaper and JNF Enterprises. And as we do every single quarter, give me 1 second and you all will see me. I know y'all love to see my handsome face, so I'm gonna give that to y'all in a second. I know. There we go. I'm going to actually flip the mode so that y'all can see me as who's it, Kevin Hart said, so you can see me because I can see me and you see me. So I'm gonna do this. Can y'all see me?
See you
Can
now.
you see me? That's good. All right, there we go. Absolutely. There we go. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in, for all the good folks that are out there. And as y'all can see, we have another author that's a part of our showcase, the newspaper. The issue is coming out this week, y'all, but we wanted to have him. He couldn't wait. He wanted to be able to be a part of this right away. So we're going to get to introduce him in a second, and he and I are going to have a conversation. And that's what I tell everybody. See, this is just a conversation. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his journey. We're going to talk about his book that he has out, and how you can get it in that writer's journey, that author's journey, but also his journey, which is a great story, a compelling story that I can't wait for you all to hear. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. As I said, you can go to the National Black Unity News, and you can't see that through there. Website www.tnbun.com. Get your copy of the newspaper, subscribe also, and then you can also see other author showcases that we have on the YouTube channel as well. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all those great things as we try to bring you just some of the most phenomenal, I call, writers, authors that you're not going to readily hear about, see, have conversations with throughout not only this country, but also just globally, which is what I love about our author showcase, our National Black Unity News newspaper. It's a global newspaper, so we bring people from all over the globe that you're not going to see any and everywhere else. So let's get into this conversation with this brother here, and I'm gonna allow him to do the introduction of himself, and then tell us a little bit about him, and then we'll get into our conversation about him and kind of the great things that he has going on. And it's nothing other than, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right, Marque Henderson. That is pronounced Mark, right?
Marquise.
Oh, it is Marquis. Okay, all right, because it's spelled I guess that way, but sometimes like different. So I want to make sure I'm pronouncing right. That's why I asked. So, brother,
Yes.
go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, and welcome to the Author Showcase.
I'm Marque Henderson, 44 years old, originally from Los Angeles, California. I was born in Sacramento. I've been down here majority of my whole life, like off and on, back and forth. But I'm staying in Decatur, Alabama. I'm from Cortland, Alabama, is where I, between Decatur and Cortland is where I was pretty much raised.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you and I like that you I guess now were you when you first I guess you moved back you said you moved back down south. What was that like moving from California down to down south for you?
Well, like my grandmother actually got me from Sacramento, California when I was 2 years old.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it's like when I started visiting my mom, she had me going and being in contact with my father and my other siblings. So that's how I was going to California and such.
Okay. Now, what I want to ask you, what got you started writing? What got you on into writing?
Well, Reggie Orr, it was a friend of mine. We grew up together a little bit down here. And he seen me one day and I tell him, what I'm doing good. And he was like, bro, you need to write a book. You got a book in you, bro.
Mm.
All that you've been through and all that God bless you through, you got a book in you. So he said, I know a person, which Tammy Buckley, like she gonna help you write this book. And Tammy helped me all the way.
And definitely shout out to Tammy, who is just a phenomenal woman, and she is a publisher, as well as an author and speaker, just and does a lot of things for not only authors but women in general, women in addition to working with authors. Now, now, now I understand that your friend told you that you had a book in you, but what was it that made you kind of take heed to what he was telling you? And what made you say, "Wow, you know what? I do think that I have a story to tell."
Because like through all of the situations and the things that life had carried me through, you know, I feel like sometimes it needs to come out of you and other people needs to hear and definitely for helping the souls of kids so they don't have to go through the same pathway and same roads that I had to go through.
Hmm. 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 And you think that says something to people, says something to everybody by being able to tell your story like that.
Yes, yes, it does.
Now, if you had one word that you would use to describe your writing and your writing style, what would that one word be?
I'm gonna say to the extreme
Mm, okay, okay. Why do you say that?
because the stuff I went through was like it was very critical
Mm,
going through the stages and the life carried me through. And it was, it was very stressful having to deal with it and put myself in those situations. So I'm gonna say extreme because that's how I feel when I write that book and all of the pain and all of the stresses that I had to deal with while going through that. It's like it's a release of tension. Like
mm, mm, mm. And I've had a lot of authors say that, especially those that have written their their biography, if you will, their story. They've said that a lot of times that writing their story was therapy for them, and
yes,
and what they kind of what they went through. Because I know, and I'll put it like this: I know for me, um, I know I write poetry, and I started writing poetry when I was in college, and I was writing just to kind of get things off my mind and get them out, just to express myself, whether it was something that I was going through, whether it was something that I was seeing, or whether it was something that someone I knew was experiencing. So when I hear authors like you talk about that being therapy for you, that really it I hone in on that, and I think that's key, because a lot of those of us that are writers, we do writing is therapy for us, in order to be able to say, you know what, I got some things inside of me that I want to let go. Musicians may play drums or may do this. I know I've seen my pastor. I've seen him, and this has been maybe just like once or twice. I've seen him play the organ at our church. He's just in there playing, just
Oh,
to
oh yeah.
just to kind of get some of the stresses that we have out. Now I want you to tell us, tell those that are watching, if you can tell us what made you want to write your book. Now I'm gonna give the title of the book, How I Broke Free and Broke the Chains, and then we'll get into a little bit about the book, get into the overview about the book.
So you asked me like what made
Well,
what made me come up with that title?
no, what made you want to write it? We'll get into the title, but what made you want to write the book initially? Like, to say, hey, I want to write my story. I know your brother told you that you had a story inside you, but
Uh-huh.
what was it that said, hey, tell us a little bit about your story, about your journey,
Well,
about your journey.
it's been times I've been shot. I've been in a car wreck. Uh, and it's times that, God will actually, I supposed to been dead, but God spared my life. So I feel like I gotta tell the story of how God blessed me, and especially for the kids that I'm trying to get attention of, that always picking up guns, you know, the steady gang life, just try to get a hold of these kids, and it got to be somebody that's willing to step in the gap and stand up and try to save these kids, because they're a lot worse than when we was.
Absolutely. And well, let me ask you this: Do you think that they're worse than we were, or do you think that they have more access to, to stuff than we did, which is a cause of them being, kind of worse than we are?
Well, that's possible, because the way the United States is now, they got it where anybody could just go get a gun and you don't have to have a permit. So that's making, it wasn't like that when we was kids.
Right.
It making it easier for them to put guns in their hand.
Yeah. 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 Now, in addition to guns, what else do you think is causing the kids to be the way that they are in this day and time?
Well, they definitely have more drugs, like way more drugs than we had when we was kids, and that's definitely what is a main key to the kids, and then the parenting, all of it play along. Cause like when we was kids, I know, you had somebody strict in your family, but now, they're our age raising kids. So, it's a little bit more lenient than it was than when you got your older people that down, and wait, if you do something, your next door neighbor gonna whoop you, and then it's not like that anymore.
You say that's for sure. That's for sure, because it wasn't just the fact that you would get it when you got home. You would actually get it. You would get it all along on your way home, because
On the way, right.
because you knew if Miss Johnson down the street saw you, she was going to tell your mama, and then by the time you got home, she had already chastised you, and then your mother, or your father was going to do the same thing when you got home. got home, got home too. And let me ask you this, and I'm interested to find this out. How did we lose that? how did we move? How have we? Why do you think we've moved away from that kind of community, that kind of household, that kind of rearing of of kids?
I feel like the like I'm 44, so majority of the kids that come from us, we're more lenient because of what we had to go through. I feel like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
not be that tough as I had to go through with my kids, but no, we need it. Like
Yeah,
it needs to be.
yeah,
Because
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
can you imagine the generation after this generation in the next generation?
Yeah, and that's honestly what I've said when I've had the conversations with my buddy. When he and I have these conversations, we talk about that gap got that gap was probably, and I always tell him the gap was like this wide, maybe between us and our parents, right?
Right,
Our parents and our grandparents was probably like this, but
right.
then our us and our parents, it got like this, and
Yeah.
then now you got it, it's like this between us and our children's generation. And like you said, by the time it gets to gets to our grandkids or our great grandkids, that gap is going to be even wider if we don't do anything about it. And I think that, and I'm gonna ask you this later on, so just kind of put this in the back of your mind. What do you think some of the solutions are? Okay, we're gonna get to that, because I like to talk about solutions, and I want people to learn from you, and I want you to give your experiences so that people can understand, one, where you came from, where you come from, and then how you are saying, hey, you know what, we don't want our children to have to go through those same experiences or that same path that you talk about you going through, and being able to break free. Because I'm assuming, tell me what that title means to you. What does what does how I broke free and broke the chain, what does that mean to you?
So how I broke free and broke the chain, it's like the criminal thinking, the you know, the negative thinking, the street thinking. You know, the second time I went to prison, it was like horrible experience. But to be back in prison after I had got out of I stayed 10 the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got out and now going back, it was like, wow. It was like people that you left in there, they're still in the prison. So it was like a wake up, like, man, I can't keep doing this to myself. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I allow myself, because they're in prison, if you do not want to be changed or rehabilitated, it ain't I go to prison and I get rehabilitated. No, you have to work the steps of your own to
Mm-hmm.
rehabilitate yourself, to change yourself. And changing yourself comes with changing your heart first. Your heart first, then how you think. And like that's how I feel about how I broke free and broke the chains. That's breaking free of all of the chaos that I used to have going on in my life.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you want the reader to come away with after they've read your book? What do you want them, after they've read that last page, that last word? What do you want them to come away with?
Well, it carries them down a surface from where I started from a childhood to all the events in my life that led to the prison situations. But I want to leave with, okay, uh, there is hope at the end. There is, after you go through all of this in your life, there's still hope that you can change.
Yeah, yeah. And let me let me ask you this: what do you think? What's the difference between Marque, who went in the first time, and Marque that's right here talking to me right now? What's the difference between those two men?
Okay, the Marque that before was a stone cold gangster and had no fear in nothing. But now today, it's like I care. I'm more aware of my surroundings. I don't put myself in situations that cause a downward fall.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a totally different person, 360 person.
And and I like what you just said, and I want you to talk to that young man who was Marquise before he went in the first time. What would you say to him? Or what do you say? Because I know you speak at schools and you speak to young men. What do you say to them, now to try and keep them from going down that route? What do you tell them about going down that route and where that can lead to?
Well, a 5 minute indecisive decision could ruin your whole life. It only takes 3 to 5 minutes to be in an event that'll cause you your whole life. And being in a situation like that, to have to go down that road, it's awful because of it's no good in prisons and jails. Of course, people know there's no good in it, but then you could trick yourself to where you have some people that's tricked that goes to prison and be comfortable. Like, yeah, it's people that's be tricked like that. And you can't allow yourself to be tricked and trick yourself out of your freedom saying that, okay, I can go lay down in this prison for a few years and get back, but no, it's not the right pathway or the right thinking to have.
Can I ask you this? Do you know why that seems to be a badge of honor for some for some young men? Why they think going to prison is a badge of honor, or they think that it's this thing that they, oh yeah, I did this and I did that, and I'm in there, and they wear it as a badge of honor. Do you know why a lot of young men feel that way? Feel that they have to, that they have to go experience that or go through that?
Well, for myself, it's like more street credibility badge, like to say, yes, I've been to prison, and me, myself, have been guilty of that. Like the first time I got out, I was guilty, like it was a OG type of thing. Okay, I've been to prison, everybody you see. But, I feel like now that it was a devil's the trick, how I feel, because when you trick yourself to that, then you steady going back to the same situations. But I do say that until a kid or a man or whoever really truly feels down in their heart that they are ready to change, until you get that deep down in your soul, you're not going to change.
Mm, mm, mm. I like how you said that. They have to, so you have to be willing to want to make a change in
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
And is that what you experienced for you, where you when you went in for that second time, you were like, nah, there's got to be something, or there is something more for me?
Oh, yes. Then you see the same officers that you left,
Mm,
and they call you convict, and it just
mm,
it was just, already that, once you go inside a prison wall, they pretty much strip you of your identity, strip you of, like some people won't get undressed in front of people, right?
Right.
But you go inside a prison, you're gonna have to undress 2 or 3 times a day if you got jobs, if if you even till you working in the kitchen. When you come out the kitchen, they want you to strip butt naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's the indignities that, that you had to go through.
Yeah, and those are the things that aren't talked about. Then when you do your speaking, do you tell the brothers about those experiences, those type of things, because everybody wants to glamorize it, but they don't want to talk about the real.
Yes, I do. Even to the officers, you got officers that just see you as a convict and not you as a person.
Yeah.
So they will get to the point where I have seen guys get beat to death by police officers
Mm-hmm.
and nothing be said about it. They call the parents, say they fell down the flight of stairs, and that's the end of it. Keep them in the infirmary till they heal up.
Yeah, and that's the sad part about that. Where I've said this. I mean, that we aren't, especially as Black men, we aren't seen as Black people as a whole, but specifically us as Black men aren't seen as human beings. We get treated less than human beings, and when you if you when you are in the system, it's even, I believe, like you were just saying, it's even worse, because they're like, yeah, they all they're doing is living out what we already believe them to be and what they already are, which I think is one, is sad, but then two, it just shows you just the how sad our society is, where those type of things do happen to us. I want to ask you this now. What do you think, can you give me 3 steps that you believe to breaking the chains and being free? What did you do? Give me the top 3 things, and we may go in further, but the top 3 things that you did to break free.
First thing was changing. The first thing was change my heart and my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing was change my environment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the third thing was put new people with self-worth in them places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I want you to. I'm not going to let you just skate on by that number 2 thing where you said you had to change your people. How important? Talk about how important that is for individuals, and specifically how important it was for you. But then how important that should be for anyone who is looking to be able to break free, who's looking to turn their life around. How important is that, and was that?
That's actually the most important, because if you don't change, of course, the people are most likely doing the same exact thing. So no matter how strong you are and say, oh, I can go around them for a few minutes, and you keep going, you bound to do the same thing. If you keep going around that crowd, you're gonna do what they do, no matter how strong you are. So you cannot go around whole crowds.
Yeah, and I can't. I mean, that is the one thing that I believe that, and well, that's the first thing. But then even the third thing that you talked about, how important is that, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals that are looking to be able to to move forward and to be able to progress in life, be positive in life. How important has that been for you now? And doing the great things that you're doing.
It's very important, because when you have positive people around you that's pushing for the same thing, it's going to keep you pushing. It's going to keep you doing the right things. And they don't have no negativity, no, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna say, come on, let's go down the road and drink a beer. They're not gonna say nothing like that. So, everybody pushing and that
Mm-hmm.
have created in my life, everybody have been pushing on some godly goals. And, I thank God for everybody that God had placed in my life now.
Yeah, and I like that, and I call it, I call it my circle of impact, and that's people that I have people around me that pour into me, and then people that I pour into, and I liken it to I call the picture in the glass theory. You know how you go to a restaurant and you're sitting down at a restaurant and they got a glass at every setting there, and then they'll bring you out a pitcher of water, tea, lemonade, whatever it is that they bring out, and they'll pour the pit they'll use what's in the pitcher to pour into the glasses. And I tell people, I said sometimes with a pitcher where we pour into people, because they need the experiences that we've had, or our expertise, whatever it is that we're pouring into them. And then sometimes we have to be with the glass because we need to get poured into.
That's right.
And I like what you talk about, and like with your book, when you talk to the young men that you talk to, and even the young women that you talk to too, because I believe they can learn something from this as well too. But you're that picture to them because you're pouring into them so that they can know, they can learn, and they can experience some of the things that you're telling them about, and they're able to you know pull the knowledge, the information that you're giving to them, and it'll impact them in such a way that they won't be the same person after they had the conversation with you than they were before they had the conversation with you. and
Right.
and, and I think that that's important. And like you said, I think we and I think that's part of the reason when we were talking earlier about why our the young men are the way that they are, the communities are the way that they are, because we've missed the mark of pouring into that next generation. And I've always said this, that it's every generation's responsibility to make it better for the next generation.
That's right.
And I say this too, our generation has dropped the ball.
That's right.
And being able to, like we were saying about that about that gap getting wider and wider. Well, that's on us. We can't put that on anybody else but us. And we have to make sure before it gets too late that we pick up what is wrong, and see those things and make those corrections that we need to make. So I want to ask you, what was the hardest part about writing your story?
Ooh. Well, some of the details where I had to talk about my mother passing, my
Mm,
uh, my grandmother passing. That was some of the hard things I had to go through, and even coming through some of the things I talked about, prison. It was, them were some difficult times that,
mhm,
yeah, I had to. Okay, and writing, Green, they call writing is healing, because as you write, it's like you're pouring everything, all them balled up emotions, you're pouring them out
mhm,
to what you're writing.
mhm. Now, was that the hardest part of breaking free also?
Yeah, yes, I can say that by, sharing things that I have not told people.
Mhm. Now, how do you stay free? How would you tell someone that once they've broken free, how do they stay free?
For me, like, I feel like, okay, I believe in God. God is, you know, God is my everything. So it's like even the smallest thing, like I find myself, convicted. Like you truly believe in God, it's a conviction that won't let you do wrong. So, long as I keep putting God first, saying my daily prayers and keeping my mind focused on God, I feel like, that's is a good way to stay in line and stay broken chains.
Yeah, and that's the that's key. And when as you as you were talking and as you were saying that, all I was thinking about was the story of Peter when Jesus was walking on the water, and Peter says, "If that's you, Lord, then bid me to come." And so he steps out the boat and he's walking on the water. And as long as he was focused on Jesus, he was walking on water. But the moment he took his eyes off of him, what did he do? He started to sink.
Yeah, that's
Started to
right.
sink. He
That's
started to
right.
sink. And then him and Jesus picked him up, and then they walked back into the boat. But you just gave the perfect example. As long as I'm focused on him, long as I'm doing what he's, what I'm doing, I'm supposed to be doing in him, then yeah, there gonna be some rough things, but there gonna be some storms that come. But even in that story with Peter and Jesus walking on the water, there was a storm, but you wouldn't know it because it doesn't mention it once once they start walking, or once he's focused on him, because he doesn't even that isn't even a factor to him. And it's the same way I believe that it is with us too, when we are focused, especially focused on God and focused on what it is that where it is that we're trying to get to, and not allow those distractions to be able to consume us, as they can if we allow them to,
That's right.
you know. So what impact, let me ask you, what impact do you want your book to have, um, on making our communities better and making these young men out here better?
Well, as they read the book, I want them to see how easy that it is to throw your life away, but also the lies that you've been told when you've been initiated in these games. Uh, you know how corrupt they make your mind, and it took me a long time to really come to acceptance of 43 years to know that being hard is nothing. To being a gangster is nothing.
Mm.
It leads you nowhere. Graveyard or a prison. Them the only two options for a gangster.
Yeah, yeah. And man, I can't tell you how many times I've heard it, and then how many times I've said that very thing to young men, and I know uh, that was something that I heard growing up. That look, there's only two paths. There's only two things that are going to happen to you if you choose to go down that road. You know, those are the only options. you know, and
That's right.
and if you choose to go down that path, and I think so many of us, so many young men out here today, and I think part of what we were talking about, I think what they've gravitated to, and I know you and I were growing up, it was it was glamorized and everything like that, but we didn't have access to as much technology as these young boys out here have today too,
That's right.
which which I think plays a big part in it. There was no virtual lives. There was no TikTok and
Yeah,
and all those things growing up. It was, everything was about, you having to be in person with these things, and being able to, yeah, you knew about some things, but nowhere near what we have access to, in this day and time. And it's just, it's a good thing, but it's also at the same time it's a bad thing, you
that's
know,
right.
because they have access to so much, but they seem to be doing less, you know.
That's,
And that's kind of, unfortunately, that's been the pattern, not just with this generation, but even our generation. We have access to so much more, but we seem to be doing less or want to do less, So I guess it comes across like that. So um, so what's next for you? You have anything that you're working on, other than other than this book that you have? Any speaking engagements that you have coming up, or another book that are you on another book that you're working on?
I'm actually in the process of a book called The Corruption of the Prison System.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's going to be,
Yeah, that's a deep one right there.
so it's just going to be a book like it's going to bag up my book, but it's going to
Mhm,
tell more about, it's going to be in depth about the things I had to go through and the corruption that goes on inside of prison,
mhm,
and
mhm.
why you should not want to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Now, was there a particular reason why you wanted to do that one as well, in addition to this one?
Well, I feel like it to be heard, even though like the state of Alabama got so much stuff going on that they don't even have enough guards to guard the prisoners. So uh
Mm,
the governor, so called, she's talking about building another $30 million prison, but you can't
mhm.
even control the ones that you already have. So like
Right.
so it's even to people going to Montgomery, which is the capital, where the board of parole pardons and all of that. You got people protesting up there, about their loved ones that's inside, that's taking these beatings, that's dying off of these drugs. The message got to continue to be heard.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. So I like that you're championing, the corruptness, and champion letting people know, what is going on, because if we don't speak up about it, then nobody can, then nobody will ever know about it. But then there won't be anything that'll ever be done about it. It'll just keep keep being swept under the rug. Nobody, like as you said before, it'll just be as if, one, the voice, their voice won't be heard, and won't be, and people won't recognize all of the things that, the negative things that are going on when it comes to that. So
I got a good
um
one for you right here.
yeah, what's that?
So it's been about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. So the news press put out that the Alabama Board and Pardons denied parole to a man that was dead,
That was what?
deceased.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So he came up for parole. The man had been dead. I think it said like the man had been dead for like a month or two.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's how you know that when people come over parole, that was just backup information that they do not sit down and read the case and learn about these people.
Right, right, right.
Because here it is, you got a man that you just denied, but he's been dead for 3 months, but you denied him parole. So I'm gonna be attacking factors like that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's powerful, and those are the types of stories, things that need to be talked about and need to be told, so that people are aware. of what's going on in the system. So how can people connect with you if they want you to come and speak or purchase your book?
Okay. My email is marquehenderson7@gmail.com. And I want to say the TikTok thing is Marque Henderson as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And on the book, you can buy the book at Amazon.com and just type in how I broke free and broke the chains and type my name in and the book will pull up.
What's your TikTok? Is the TikTok under your name?
I think it's on the Prosperous Unity though.
You said, what is it? Process Unity?
Prosperous.
Oh, Prosperous.
Prosperous Unity.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because TikTok is becoming very popular. And it depends on the age category. You know, because a lot of folks, well, actually, I'm not even going to say that because a lot of folks are using TikTok as a major platform to be able to talk about and you know, kind of get themselves to get some additional exposure and everything like that. So so I appreciate you taking time and coming telling your story, brother. I keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job, and my thing is always impacting people, right?
That's right.
And I always say this, and I want to impact. I impact people. I tell people my goal, my purpose, my mission is to make people better by the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year. And one of the ways that I'm able to do that is by bringing people like you onto the author showcase and be able to talk about not only their books, because it's more than just about the book. As you can see, the conversation is more than just about the book that you have, but the impact that you're having on people's lives, what you're doing, these great things, because someone like you needs to have the light shined on them, because you're doing what you're doing now. You've totally said, you know what, I want to make a difference. I'm going to make a difference in a positive way, and that needs to be talked about, that needs to be shown so that others can see, hey, you know, this is you know, this may have been my story too, because I think I said this to you or when we your story, you know, so a lot of people think that they're the only ones. They think that they're the only ones who have gone through and experienced what they've experienced. But by you telling your story, you give another young man the ability to be able to say, you know what, if Marquis can make it, I know what I can make it. If he turned his life around, I know I can. And you even inspire those men that might be, you know, that might be incarcerated. It lets them know, hey, brother, this doesn't have to be, you know, the be all end all. Even though they might be in there for life, they can still break free.
That's right.
Because it begins here, like you said something very pertinent. It begins with your mindset. And I've always said that. Everything that we do, if we want our community to be better, if we want us as men to be better, it starts with our mindset. If you change, if you change that, then you begin to change your choices, you begin to change your surroundings, you begin to change the people that you hang around, and you begin to change what your life looks like. So I want to thank you for coming on, being a part of the Author Showcase, talking to us about you, your story, and your journey. You know, keep writing, keep
Yes,
talking,
sir.
all of those great things. And if you can give just one last time, if you can give your contact information for people to be able to purchase the book.
Amazon.com. Like I said, when you get to Amazon.com, you type in how I broke free and break the chain, or you can type in my name, Marque Henderson. And my email again is marquehenderson7@gmail.com.
Absolutely, brother. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the National Black Unity News. I know y'all probably can't see it down there, but he is in the in the current issue now. The current issue will be out this week. It'll actually be out shortly. So you can go to www.tnbun.com to subscribe first, and you can get it right to your doorstep. You can also get the digital download if you want that too. But if you like me, you want to be able to have the pages to be able to turn, all of those great things. And we want you to be able to, you can go to our YouTube channel as well in order to be able to see other authors that are part of the author showcases, such as Brother Marque Henderson, who just have some great conversations, going beyond the books that they've written, their messages that they have, because they all have had a mission, a message, a movement, and what motivates them and what has motivated others to be able to support them and do the great things that they do. So, Brother Marquise, I want to thank you for being with us, and we appreciate you, and we will have the issue there for you, and we'll be able to have the paper there for you, the next issue that you're a part of, sent out to you. We'll be able to have everyone to be able to see you, see your book, in addition to being able to go and hear this, your great story on here. So we appreciate you. Thank y'all for tuning in to the National Black Unity News, the Author Showcase. I'm your boy, it's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., and we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great evening. Don't go anywhere, Marquise, okay?